Hello, hello, welcome in. We are going to be talking about the newly introduced, the newest Mega coming to Pokemon Legends ZA later this fall. We were introduced to Mega Dragonite earlier today, and I kind of want to go over my predictions from a Draft League perspective and just in general what I think Mega Dragonite could look like. Maybe just to reflect back on to see if I was right or if I was very wrong. But I think I've got some likely options in here and a couple bad options in here. But I just kind of want to theory craft what Mega Dragonite could look like. To start off, I have brought up some of the comparisons of the other four pseudo legendaries from Gens 1 through 4 that have gotten Mega Evolutions previously. Starting with Salamence here at the top, I have their draft point values for their regular variant on the left and then their Mega value on the right. But starting with Salamence, it starts off, it gets just 10 in attack and 20 in speed, and then 10 in special defense, and 10 in special attack, but then a whopping 50 in defense, which doesn't sound that great or that elite of a spread for a Pokemon. But the main thing, the kicker that makes Mega Salamence so strong is the Aerialate ability, being able to get boosted returns or whatever Mega Salamence wants to use, Hyper Voice. It has a lot of options, and then with that bulk, it's really hard to kill actually. Both on the special and especially the physical side. That thing is a nightmare to deal with. And then 120 speed is nothing to laugh at. That's super quick and makes it quite oppressive. It can int him before it Mega evolves, and then that Aerialate on top of the stab is extremely, extremely strong. But looking at a very different scenario is Tyranitar, who, while it gains 30 attack and even 10 speed, it's gaining 40 defense and 20 special defense, which honestly on paper looks great. But the reason Tyranitar isn't a broken Mon by any reason with Mega Evolution is because, one, it likes holding an item quite a bit, even as normal Tyranitar. And not that Salamence doesn't. Salamence loves holding boots, having that Rock's weakness. But the trade-off is worth it for Salamence when you're getting 20 speed, moving you from a measly 100 speed, which puts you in a range which so many other Pokemon, to 120, which can easily be the best Pokemon on your team. And then on top of getting that bulk and that special option. But with Mega Tyranitar, you get the bulk and you get some more attack and you get a little speed. Tyranitar's cool, but the main thing that normal Tyranitar does so well is being an offensive presence while also being that sand setter for your team. It really likes running Smooth Rock, so you can set up your other sand sweepers so they have enough turns to really do the damage you want them to. And it likes running like a Resist Berry, a Chople Berry, a Shuka Berry. It has quite a few weaknesses. Which is another reason why it's not broken, is just generally a bad typing. But Mega Tyranitar can't do any of that. Mega Tyranitar is a little bit pigeonholed into being kind of a DD Mon, where normal Tyranitar, I feel like you can feel better about running like an AV set with 4 attacks, or just a rock set. But Mega Tyranitar kind of feels like it has to be more offensive, or the sand just isn't up long enough for it to be a support Mon like the rest, like normal Tyranitar can be for the rest of your team without that Smooth Rock. Looking at Mega Garchomp, an even more extreme example, very infamously, it gets worse with with Mega Evolution, going from about an 18 point Pokemon to really around like a 16, 15, 17 point Pokemon. It loses Rough Skin, which is a big ability, which is good. Sand Force is not nearly as good, almost never relevant. And while it gains 40 attack, which is quite good, it gains 40 special attack, which is not ideal. Like, even though it has the potential to run special stats, 170 attack is really getting you through most things you need. It gains 20 defense, it gains 10 special defense, and infamously loses 10 speed, which is the real kicker. Going from 102, which is one of the best speed stats you can have in that range, being able to speed creep 100 base Mons, even 101 base Mons like Landorus, is quite relevant and super powerful. Going down to 92, which just makes you so average. And with good bulk, but not incredible bulk, it's easy to be dealt with. And the other big thing with Garchomp is it does not have Dragon Dance like Tyranitar, like Salamence, and like Dragonite. Garchomp has to use Scale Shot to boost its speed, or it has to use Sword Stance to boost its attack. And then that's 2 turns of setup when you're already a little bit slower than you want to be. It's kind of a tricky situation. Even though 170 attack's great, sometimes that Scale Shot boost, which is also not reliable in the first place. Scale Shot sucks in its own right. You're lowering your defense, making you more likely to die. It has a chance to miss. It has that variance in the 2 to 5 hits. It's just not ideal in any world. So that's why Mega Garchomp is a little bit worse, even though looking super sick. Metagross is more similar to Salamence, where it goes from, an 11 to 13 point Pokemon to a straight up banned Pokemon, and is probably one of the better Ubers that is ever allowed even in an Ubers League. Even though it only gains 10 attack, 20 defense is good, 10 special attack is pretty negligible, 20 special defense is cool. Gaining 40 speed is a pretty big deal. Allows it to run Zen Headbutt and allow it to flinch your fast Pokemon, Iron Head, and of course it gets Bullet Punch, which is extremely relevant with 145 attack. And on top of that, the main kicker I would say is Tough Claws is ridiculously strong. Tough Claws being like a 1.3 boost might as well be another 30 or 40 attack to throw onto that 145. So it makes it extremely strong with Bullet Punch, with priority, with great coverage, with great access to a lot of other things, which some of these other guys, like Tyranitar, has good coverage, but not strong coverage, and its stabs aren't that great, where Metagross's stabs are good enough, especially with the niches they have. So Metagross is really strong. Where do I think Dragonite falls in all of this? Well, I've got a range of statistics that I think Dragonite could land in. Of course, we've got normal Dragonite here on the left, the one we've been used to for the last 25, 30 years, with 91 attack, 91 HP, 134 attack, 95 defense, 100 special attack, 100 special defense, and just 80 speed. Dragonite's very well rounded off rip. It's got good enough bulk with 91, 95, 100, and it's got great attack at 134, and even 100 special attack gives it options to do a lot of things outside of just the normal attack. Mix sets are even somewhat relevant. 80 speed isn't great, but it's usually good enough, especially as Dragonite's normal role is using in singles, is using extreme speed constantly, which and Dragon Dance, which boosts that speed to an acceptable range, and off the bulkiness, especially when you have multi-scale, which lets you get free setup. Almost, it's impossible to kill basically turn one unless you are doing some crazy Glaciate Mega Glalie explosion into it. I don't think you can one-shot Dragonite. So it gets a free DD off come in as long as it doesn't take rocks damage, which is why Heavy Duty Boots was insane for Dragonite. Probably one of, if not the best abusers of Heavy Duty Boots, especially for a Pokemon that's only taking 25%, not 50. Dragonite's pretty crazy off rip. In draft, it's somewhere between, I would say, a 14 to 16 point Pokemon, depending on how your league values its setup ability and how often your league is using rocks. In my league, I generally find it around 14, 13. Not a Pokemon that gets drafted super often because it is a little bit predictable in draft league because it really likes clicking that Dragon Dance into extreme speed button. So people will bring ghost types, they'll bring steel types. There's ways to counter Dragonite, especially bringing those rocks to force it to run boots and have to force its teammates to run good removal if it's not running boots. Mega Dragonite, we've got some ranges here on the right for what I think is likely. I would be quite shocked if its base stats do not end up falling within these ranges. Maybe it doesn't, but I mean, they're all pretty broad ranges, so I'm not getting too, prophetical here where I'm like, yes, it's going to be exactly here. These are pretty broad ranges. I would be pretty shocked if it doesn't get, these boosts. Attack, I see a world where it goes lower than 134, but we'll get into that a little later. And I could see it getting as high as like 184. They could go crazy with it if they want to. Give it that Mega Garchomp treatment. Defense, I'd be shocked if they don't give it 10 at least. Could see them giving it more, up to about 125. Special attack, could see a world where they min-max kind of with that 184 attack and that we're looking in that first one. I could see it dropping. I think that's very unlikely. I think it's extremely likely to end up with 110 special attack, but I also have 150 on here because I do think there's a world where they kind of give it that tone switch and make it a special attacker. And I've got a couple of concepts laid out here in a minute, and we'll look at them, and one of them is special attacking Dragonite. Looking at the SpDef, kind of the same thing with the defense. It's a tighter range, but I think it's likely to fall anywhere from getting plus 10 to plus 30 in defenses, either one. And then with speed, I don't see it going lower. I think that's hard to predict. I think, Garchomp is a famous example of that, but I don't think it happens. There's a chance it stays the same. I would say if there's anything on these ranges I don't think will happen, or that could happen that I don't have listed, it's the speed staying the same or only going up 5. But I think it's likely to get at least plus 10. Most Megas get at least plus 10 speed. And Dragonite being a little slower off the rip, I think it's likely to get that 10. But the Pokédex entries they released on the website along with the teaser today with Mega Dragonite did mention speed quite a lot and how it likes to quickly end battles and quickly save its friends. Lots of mentioning of quick, so I could see it going all the way up to 130. I think there's worlds where they make Mega Dragonite super fast with those big-ass wings on his head. Moving into the concepts, well, actually, let's look at some of the hypothetical abilities Mega Dragonite can have. I think there's a lot of options. There's a lot of spitballing going on right now. There's even hypotheticals for nothing to change, or for a completely new ability. I think if I was a betting man, the most likely ability here is that it just keeps multi-scale, stays kind of bulky, is allowed to Mega first turn, and run that multi-scale, but I only think that's about a 30% chance. I think there's a lot of other abilities that make sense. I'm seeing Aerialate thrown out a lot, stay in multi-scale turn 1 and then get your boost and then Mega, and then you're clicking Extreme Speed Aerialate. I think Aerialate is kind of like a pipe dream where people want to see it. Like, it's like, whoa, this Pokemon would be crazy with this. And the answer is, yeah, this Pokemon would be insane with Aerialate. Probably the most broken ability here, because Aerialate's really strong. You get the stab boost on something like Extreme Speed, which Salamence doesn't even have, like Extreme Speed. It's got Return, which is great, but Extreme Speed's a whole different ball game because of the super high priority. But being able to get stab on that and then a 1.2 bonus is insane. It'll make E-Speed Dragonite quite scary. So I don't think it's super likely, especially because Mega Dragonite or Mega Salamence already got it. And are they really going to give both of their Dragon Flying Megas the exact same ability? I don't think it's super likely. I've seen Wind Rider thrown out. I think Wind Rider would be cool, I guess. You'd be able to click Tailwind on that first turn, or like second turn maybe. I'm not sure exactly how you'd set that up, but you'd be able to, actually maybe you could do it first turn and then Mega Evolve next turn and get the Wind Rider buff. I think that's how it works. Get the attack buff and then of course the speed from Tailwind. It would make it quite strong. Maybe it uses those big wings on its head to catch the wind and fly. But I think this would be more relevant in VGC. I think this would make this Pokemon pretty crazy. Of course, I'm no VGC expert. Tough Claws just kind of feels like an ability you give Mega Pokemon who have that physical vibe. So I could see Dragonite getting Tough Claws, totally multi-scale into Tough Claws. It would be crazy strong. Like, I'm not even going to play around with that. Most of these abilities are actually crazy, but I couldn't think of a less... They like to give the strong abilities to Mega Pokemon anyways, but giving it to a pseudo-legendary, that's a whole different game. I put Dragon's Maw on here, which is Regidrago's signature ability, which boosts your attack stat or special attack stat by 1.5 when you're using dragon type attacks. I think it'd be kind of cool to give it to Dragonite, just the OG dragon, take away that signature ability. And it would be quite strong. You'd be seeing Draco Meteor sets, you'd be seeing crazy strong Dragon Rage, or not Dragon Rage, Dragon Claw and Outrage sets. I combine them to make a very strong hitting Dragonite. And then in kind of the same sphere, I added a hypothetical ability here at the bottom. You're going, what is Draconate? I think Draconate could be kind of like an Aerialate, a Pixelate, a Glaciate, but instead of those typings, a new one for Dragon type, obviously, where it turns normal types attacks into Dragon type attacks and gives them that 1.2 bonus. Of course, this would be crazy strong as well with Extreme Speed. I'm not going to hold you, but I think it would be a little less strong than Aerialate would be, just because I think Flying is a more oppressive offensive typing. Dragon is only super effective against itself, and then it has an immunity, which I think is the big kicker. Fairy's super relevant. People would run Fairy Walls to stop Mega Dragonite, and Mega Dragonite's coverage to hit Fairies isn't crazy, although Dragonite's coverage is quite good. It's not crazy. It has like Iron Tail, which isn't ideal. But I could see Dragonite being a really cool ability to give this Pokemon, especially if they wanted to go that route of getting a new ability. But I don't think new abilities are super likely. I'm just thinking of following suit with Pokemon Legends Arceus, where I believe they did not give any new signature abilities. They did plenty of new signature moves in that game, but I believe none of those Hisuian Pokemon or forms got their own signature abilities in that game, if I recall correctly. And since this Pokemon will be taking the form, will be coming in a Legends game, where they're likely not even going to have abilities in the game, we're going to be seeing these abilities when Dragonite is able to be transferred to either Pokemon Legends Champions, not Legends, Pokemon Champions, their battle sim game. I think that's most likely when we'll see it, when that game comes out. Or if they, I guess, some surprise, they want to add it to Scarlet Violet. Highly doubt that. Or maybe we have to wait till Gen 10. Who knows? but I think eventually we will find abilities for these Pokemon. I just don't think it's going to be in Legends ZA. And so, thusly, I don't think they're going to invent a new ability for it in a game where it doesn't even have abilities. But maybe because Champions is coming, they do want to think more about the competitive sphere and they want to give it a cool ability. I have no idea. I have no idea. But if I was a betting man, I would say kind of you stick with a more neutral ability, maybe a multi-scale, maybe a weaker ability than any of these. Wouldn't surprise me. But I, we'll see. We'll see. But now looking at some of these concepts I've come up with, this is kind of my first and I think my most likely concept is the well-rounded Dragonite set, where it kind of keeps its niche that it's had for the past 20 years as a very, bulky but strong, not super fast, but kind of fast. It just kind of elevates everything it does. 20 to attack, 25 to defense, which is quite a lot, 10 to special attack, 25 to spadef, and 20 to speed, kind of following suit with like the Mega Salamence buffs or some of those guys where they're just getting a lot of attack or defenses so they don't get too crazy broken, but it's still getting attack, it's still getting special attack, it's still getting speed. This would make Mega Dragonite quite good. In Draft League, I think I would let this Dragonite, we'd try it, but I do think it would be pretty strong. This would retain multi-scale, so it would be basically impossible to kill turn 1 because you can turn 1 Mega Evolve, but it wouldn't have boots, which I think is relevant. But being able to have 100 speed is already better off the rip. You still get to be able to Dragon Dance, and then that's even more relevant. And then with this increased bulk and increased attack, this Pokemon would be pretty strong. I think we'd throw it in 20 points, let it fly for a season. Yeah, it's broken, and we banned it. But it would be interesting. I think this is my most likely image of what Mega Dragonite is going to look like if I was a betting man. This is the Mega Dragonite I would expect coming out the other side when we finally get to see all of the details about it. My second concept is a little different, but still somewhat, I think this is the second most likely one, which is if they went for a special attacking Dragonite. They take away 10 attack, maybe they don't do that, but take away 10 attack, give it 10 defense, give it 20 spadef to kind of, how they like to give special attackers more spadef than defense. And it already has more spadef than defense. This version, and then 50 special attack and 30 speed would make this Pokemon quite good. I think this one is more likely just because of it already has an inclination to special defense rather than physical defense. And then in the trailer we saw today for the reveal of Mega Dragonite, the only attack we really saw using was a Focus Blast looking attack into a Mega Tyranitar. Of course, any fighting type move will kill Mega Tyranitar, but I just think that's worth noting. I think especially with the image of Mega Dragonite we have now with these big wings, the feathers on the arms and legs, it just kind of gives more of a majestic vibe, which kind of makes me think more special attacker just by looking at it. It's not as tough claws kind of looking to me. But that's just my opinion. But I could see it getting this super crazy special attack boost instead of the attack boost. This Dragonite could obviously still run extreme speed and whatever it wanted, especially with this speed buff. But this Pokemon would be really strong. I think this would be pretty bannable. I think we might try it off the rip just to see if people could handle. I also gave this one Dragon's Maw, which I think would be broken. You'd be throwing off extremely strong Draco Meteors that eviscerate everything except for a Fairy type. And then with that speed stat being very strong as well, and then being quite bulky on top of that, this would be a very strong Mega Dragonite. Moving on to our third concept, it's more of a physical version of that, where it's getting 30 attack, making it 164, which is quite high, 10 defense, 10 special attack, 10 special defense, and then 40 speed. This is one of our faster Dragonites. It would be quite strong. I don't think this one I would even entertain allowing, especially with Tough Claws extreme speed. I think that is no good. This would be broken in Draft League. This would be broken in OU. I think most of these will probably be broken in OU. They're already considering banning Dragonite as is with Terra Normal extreme speed. But this would be pretty crazy. I don't see them going this route, especially after looking at what they did to a lot of Mega Pokemon previously, where they kind of tried to well-round them and then give them obvious weaknesses. This Dragonite is just really strong. But 164 isn't the craziest thing, especially as we're entering Gen 10 and that power creep comes up. You can look at a lot of guys with 160 attack and realize they're not that crazy. But with the bulk that this Dragonite would have and this speed, I think this one would be pretty ridiculous. Speaking of, but a less ridiculous version, I think this one would be very entertaining, is if they made a bulky one, retaining multi-scale. It only gets 10 attack, it only gets 10 special attack. We are giving it 30 defense and 40 special defense, and then only 10 speed. This one, I think we could see play in OU and even Draft League, where it would be strong. It would definitely be strong, but it doesn't have access to boots. And the bulk is great. You could run roost sets to get you back to multi-scale, which I think is cool. You still have the speed. You're still quite strong at 144. And base 90 speed, you can still Dragon Dance. I think like a bulky roost Dragon Dance set on this is probably pretty insane, but as long as it doesn't have a boosting ability, I think it could somewhat be managed, but who knows? But I think this one would be cool just to see how it's played. And I think just more well balanced where it's not as quite as offensively oppressive off the rip. You can at least play around it without just losing. But I do think it would, once again, I think all of these Dragonites will be quite strong. Any Mega Dragonite will be quite strong. I think I kind of, when I first saw Dragonite, I was like, oh, this is going to be worse than normal Dragonite because of no boots. But just thinking about the base stats on top of its already well-roundedness, and it has Roost, it's kind of hard to say it's going to be worse. It's kind of hard to say it's going to be worse, and it's already, a B or A tier draft Pokemon as is. Our last concept is probably the least likely one. This one I called Broken. Just give it 50 attack, why not? 10 defense, no special attack, 10 special defense, 30 speed, which is not necessary on this one. This one would come out. You'd run crazy support with it. You'd run a Great Tusk. You'd rapid spin until you didn't have to. You'd get Dragonite out there. You would stay in multi-scale mode. You'd click DD once, and then you would click Extreme Speed Aerialate until you win the game. There would be no stopping it with 104 to 84 Aerialate. There would be no stopping this Dragonite. This is basically the strongest variant of it I could possibly imagine them doing. I think this is very, very far from likely, but who knows? Who really knows? They can do whatever they want. But I think it's just kind of fun to theory craft what Mega Dragonite could look like in upcoming games and in Pokemon Draft League. I'm very excited for the rest of the new Megas. Please let me know which of these 5 Mega Dragonite concepts you think is most and least likely. Your own concepts that you think Mega Dragonite could run, different abilities it could have, different stat spreads it could have. I'm very curious to see and discuss with you guys. So thank you for watching and checking out my Mega Dragonite theory crafting video. And yeah, bye-bye.